Hi everyone and welcome. Today's reading is designed for a very specific moment. Right now the moon is moving through Scorpio, and in astrology that's one of the most intense emotional landscapes we can pass through. Scorpio moon energy brings up what's buried, such as fears, patterns, or even pain we've tried to keep hidden or just didn't know how to face. It also brings an incredible opportunity for release. This is the moon of transformation, emotional truth, and powerful letting go. To make this even more potent, the moon is forming in a square to Pluto, which is Scorpio's modern ruler. In astrology, when two planets square each other, it creates tension, like two parts of you pulling in different directions. This creates emotional pressure where deep truths, hidden fears, or even long held patterns are rising to the surface. It might feel uncomfortable or even intense, but this tension is a sign that something is ready to shift. Growth often begins exactly here. You can think of it as a cosmic crossroad. Stay stuck in this loop or choose to finally break free. So if you've been feeling stuck, emotionally heavy, reactive, or just sensing that something needs to shift, you're feeling exactly what the Scorpio moon is meant to bring forward. This reading here is to help you understand what you need to release, what's been showing up now, and how to begin moving forward with clarity and power. So let's talk about the piles. Pile 1 is represented by the Pink Opal. Pile 2 has this calming energy of the Amazonite, and pile 3 is paired with the Blue Aventurine. Before we begin, I'm going to ring the bell to clear some energy. We're both going to take a deep breath and blow out. Ground yourself and choose the pile you feel most drawn to. Timestamps are going to be below in the description. So let's begin. All right. If you picked the Pink Opal, the first pile, this is for you. So let's go over your current energy block. Okay, so I wanted to pick an astrological house card, so everybody has a different one to determine what life domain they have a current block in. So for pile 1, we have house 1, and this is all about your self-image, your approach to life, and your individuality. So we have some sort of blockage in that area. And then I wanted to pick an oracle card to kind of flavor what house domain is an issue. And so for this one, we got disquiet. So the forest here is filled with unsettling clown dolls. This depicts an anxious landscape that reflects your inner world. Right now, your sense of self is shaken, right? So we get that sense of self from house 1 because that's all about your self-image. You might not feel like you. The anxiety has crept in so deeply that it's become hard to recognize what you love or even how to move forward. Your individuality, your self-image, and even your approach to life, all first house themes are clouded by this discomfort. They're clouded by the fear. This emotional fog has made it hard for you to trust your instincts or feel confident in your path, right? So let's figure out your root cause here. I'm just going to move them to the side. Okay. So here is the Six of Swords, and this is your root cause. Something recently has caused you pain. So I'm going to put this here just to kind of give you that image here. Like a heartbreak or a disappointment. And to cope, you kind of distance yourself. You see how the boat is moving away from this. Maybe physically, maybe emotionally, or both. Like the masked figure here that you see in the picture. Let me see if I could zoom in. See that person there? You know deep down that moving forward is better than staying in the past. But here's the key. Your body may have moved on, but your identity, right, because of that mask here, hasn't caught up. You're kind of in that liminal space here between where you've been and where you're becoming. So how does this all affect you? Okay, so we have the Nine of Swords. Ooh, we've got a lot of swords here, huh? Okay, there's some relief in having left this painful situation, but you still carry it all alone. This card reversed suggests that instead of reaching out for comfort, you're kind of withdrawn inward, right? Finding solace in solitude. But that's just reinforcing that pain. This pattern of isolating when you're hurting may have once felt protective in the past, but now it's kind of keeping you stuck. You're carrying this alone when you don't really have to. So let's look at what needs to be released. Okay, interesting. So we have the Eight of Pentacles here. The energy of this card is about burnout. Not just from work. You may be over-investing in tasks, distractions, or even self-blaming yourself, hoping that it will heal you or make you productive. So you want to be productive in order to mask that pain. But this card says stop burying yourself. It doesn't have to necessarily be work, but it can be. Overthinking or emotional avoidance, you're just using that as a shield. It's time to release that belief that you have to be productive in order to be valuable, right? Or even to heal. You don't. You just need to feel and process your emotions. So let's see about energies that help you let go. Great card, the Sun. You don't need any grand ritual as you see here. It's just you and nature, right? There's no need for a massive transformation to feel like yourself again. This card invites you back into joy and warmth and lightness, even in the smallest ways. Take a walk to your favorite place, call a friend, make some art. But most of all, it's about reconnecting to you, right? Connecting to yourself and your environment. Let joy begin to stitch your identity back together. So let's move on to the last card, which is the path forward, the Eight of Swords reversed. So this card is about mental release, but not in an abstract way. It speaks to freedom from self-imposed limitations, limiting beliefs, as you could see how she's wrapped up here blindfolded, or narratives that have kept you stuck. In the upright position, if we had the Eight of Swords, it shows somebody that's blindfolded, surrounded by swords, not trapped by others, but by herself, by their own mind. In reverse, this card signals that the blindfold is ready to come off. The swords, they're just closing in. They're realizing you can walk away out of them. This is your moment of clarity. This card is asking you to recognize, I don't have to stay in this mental prison because I built it, so then I can dismantle it. You may still feel fear, but the door is unlocked. Your next step is not just waiting for someone to rescue you. It's about realizing you're strong enough to rescue yourself. Okay, so let's talk about, let's see here. Seeing eights here, and could have sworn there was one more sword. Yeah, there we go. So I see 2 eights as well as 3 sword cards. Okay, so because you pulled 2 reversed eights and 3 swords, this is not circumstantial stress. It's full identity level mental blockages. Swords are about the mind, fear, and mental patterns, while eights and reverses often signal stalled transitions. Because with eights, you typically think about transformation and movement forward, but with the eights being reversed, this was also reversed. I'll move this one here so you can see that one as well. This is about your mind is in the cage and the key is ready in your hand, and it's just a matter of you moving forward and not letting that stop you. The spread is more of like a mirror, not what's wrong with you, but what you're ready to release, transform, and reimagine. So if we're gonna just take a moment here and just kind of summarize what's going on. The spread reveals like a deeply personal cycle of problems with your identity, emotional pain, and mental entrapment. A recent heartbreak here or grief has shaken your sense of self and filled your internal landscape with anxiety and fear. You may have buried yourself in distractions, as you can see here with the Eight of Pentacles, or tried to push forward through force, but it's left you kind of burnt out and emotionally disconnected. But this spread is saying things are shifting. With the sun shining light on what brings you joy and the Eight of Swords here reversed at the end, this reading shows there's a little bit of a positive light flowing through this wall that you created. The path forward doesn't require perfection. It requires honesty, softness, and the courage to believe your freedom is possible, especially when you're the one who's causing these ruminating thoughts, right? If this reading resonated, I'd love to hear how in the comments below. And if you'd like to support this channel, a like or subscribe is always deeply appreciated. It helps me keep making more content that's intended and healing. Thank you so much for watching, guys. All right. If you picked the Amazonite right here, Amazonite, I believe is how you pronounce it, this message is for you. So we're going to first start with the astrological houses, your life domain, to figure out where the current energy block is. So let's see what we got here. House 11. So we have here friends, like-minded groups, and humanitarian beliefs. And then I wanted to pick an oracle card. These cards are more about shadow work. Just kind of get a flavor of where that block, what that block is now that we know where it is. So we got identity. Oh, that's really interesting since this is about like-minded groups and this is about identity. So it looks like you kind of lost your sense of self in a group, whether that's friends, co-workers, or any type of collective you once felt aligned with, right? Especially when you see all of these guys here. The 11th house governs community, social belongings, shared visions. But right now, instead of having that connection, you might be experiencing a disconnect, kind of like these masks here you see, from your own voice and also within the group. So let's see what the root cause might be from all of this. Okay, so we've got the 7 of Pentacles. You've been trying, working hard to fit in, trying to prove your value or even earn your place in this community, okay? But in the process, you may have blended in too well. The 7 of Pentacles speaks to effort, but without fulfillment. You've invested in others' expectations maybe, but now wonder if there's anything left that feels like you, uniquely you. There's a kind of quiet burnout here, not from any chaos, let's say conflict that you may have had with them, but from more of an emotional neglect coming from you. So this is coming from your side as opposed to like an actual conflict from the group. So how does it affect you? Let's see here. Sorry, these cards always give me trouble. The Knight of Swords in reversed. Okay, so the reverse Knight shows that you've been silencing yourself. And the reason I say that is because typically with the Knight of Swords, he's all about being able to communicate exactly how he feels. And it might be brash, but he always does this. You may have brilliant insights, maybe witty remarks, or even powerful opinions, right? This is all the energy of Knight of Swords. But because it's reversed, that means you're hesitating to express them. It's due to possible fear, or maybe that you will cause any type of conflict between that group that you may have had, or maybe even just fear of standing out because of your beliefs, right? Your thoughts are fast and sharp, but without that channel to express them, they become internal noise, or worse, maybe even self-criticism. Am I good enough? Your individuality has been suppressed because of that, and with it, even your confidence. All right, so what needs to be released? Okay, so we have the 6 of Pentacles. This card is about balance, as you can see, the pentacles on the left and on the right. It's about fairness, it's about exchange, but in this position, it's not just about generosity towards others, it's about reclaiming that balance within yourself. So this isn't about balance between them necessarily, but having that balance within you. Maybe you're giving too much of yourself to maintain group harmony, and that's what's causing you to feel a little off as well. This card challenges you to step away from blending in and ask yourself to reclaim your space. Step out of the collective and own your right to shine, even if others don't understand it. So let's talk about energies that will help you let go. Okay, we've got the Tower. The woman in the Tower card is not about her being thrown out necessarily. In this card, I feel like she's leaping. This is a conscious break from belief systems, group dynamics, whoever's in this tower, right? Or narratives that caged her and caged her true voice. So this is her just trying to break free and be her authentic self. It might look disorienting, it might look painful, but it could also be exhilarating. The tower doesn't collapse your life, it collapses the illusion that you've been experiencing. And hopefully that helps you from stopping yourself from shrinking, right? So let's go over the path forward. Okay, the Ace of Pentacles. You've been handed the seed of something new, something stable, something nourishing. That's what the Pentacles are. This card promises grounding, but slowly. Pentacles are always about slow rebuilding. This isn't a fast transformation. You may feel unsure at first, even if you don't feel like you're making progress, and you might even regress. And that's okay. That's the kind of change that happens slowly, inch by inch, as you make daily choices that honor who you really are. Once the Tower has cleared the ground, the Ace is your invitation to plant your seed, right? Like, and grow a beautiful garden, as you can see here. So, let's see here. We're going to go over a few things I noted. So, as you can see, you have a lot of pentacles in this particular reading. So, it's more of a grounded, practical energy. And let me see what the other element here. It was the sword, which shows to me that sense that you're not necessarily being vocal. You're not putting yourself out there. So this shows that it's gradual erosion of identity. It may have happened over some time in your daily life, and it's not a dramatic change. And the Knight of Swords reversed, as we talked about, is about communication suppression. You may have clear thoughts, opinions, but you're kind of holding them back to avoid any type of conflict with the group. However, as you can see here, your identity has been separated from you, as you can see from the mask separating from the person, as well as this person here. So without healthy expression, mental energy towards that you're putting inward, and often this will become self-doubt, overthinking, or even anxiety. The absence of Wands here, which is about action, initiative, drive, and Cups, which is about emotion, intuition, supports this interpretation. You're not lacking passion or feeling. You're just not necessarily accessing them, and I feel it's out of the need to just kind of make sure that there's group harmony, right? So maybe you're trying to stay rational and appropriate even when your inner voice is begging you to speak up and be seen. So this reading is kind of a call to reclaim your voice, not just metaphorically, but literally. When there's a chance for you to speak in meetings, setting boundaries with friends, or simply telling yourself the truth, your next evolution comes from mental clarity and empowered communication. So I really hope that this resonated. And I'd love to hear how in the comments below. And if you'd like to support the channel, a like or a subscribe is always deeply appreciated. It helps me keep making this type of content. And hopefully it comes across as intentional and healing for you. So thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you guys next week. All right, if you picked the Blue Aventurine, pile 3, this message is for you. So the first card we're going to talk about is your house card, your astrological house card. It's also your life domain, just where this blockage is occurring. So we have the house 4. Let's see if I can zoom in a little bit here. You have a little tree branch with a little nest as well as the eggs here. And it talks about cultural and family roots, your home, your peace, and your comfort. Okay. And then I wanted to take an oracle card just to see how exactly this particular life domain is being affected. These cards are usually shadow cards. And we have here legacy. And as you can see here, with the legacy, you have a bunch of little kids here, but without faces. And in the background, it looks like adult as well as kid shadows. All right, so the fourth house, like we mentioned, is about home and family roots, emotional foundations, and even maybe ancestor memory. Now we pair this with the legacy oracle card. It's really kismet here because it's talking about family or cultural legacy that doesn't reflect who you are, right? As you can see here with the faceless children, it suggests like a loss of identity or a voice within this family structure, or even being born into a lineage where individuality isn't nurtured, like everyone's supposed to do the same thing. You're part of a family, you're part of a group, and there's no individuality that's encouraged or fostered. So now you're facing the emotional cost of trying to live up to expectations that are not necessarily what you feel inside. So let's talk about the root cause here. Okay, so we've got the Five of Pentacles. There's emotional coldness here, a deep-rooted experience of being abandoned, being excluded, right? This might be financial, emotional, or spiritual, and you lived through this type of poverty. It's not necessarily, and I know using the word poverty, you're thinking of finances, but not just here. It's not about resources, but also it could be from support, right? And here's the painful part. You may still feel like you're carrying the weight of your family's disappointments or dreams, wondering if you measured up. You felt alone in your pain, perhaps even like the outsider of your own home, or your family, or your lineage. This is not just a wound, it's a repeating issue that you might have, okay? So let's talk about how it affects you. The Seven of Wands. You've been trying to break from the mold. You have tried to take a stand, but it's been exhausting to constantly assert your individuality when other people around you don't support it or see it. You may feel like you've always are on the defense, always having to explain, to justify who you are and what you believe in. The card acknowledges your strength, but it also your fatigue, as you can see here with the man looking a little sullen there. Fighting to be yourself shouldn't be a full-time job. So let's talk about what needs to be released. Okay, so we have death. This card is here to clear any weight of emotional inheritance from these issues. You're not your family's definition of success. You're not the story they told themselves about you or themselves. Death is asking you to let go of those fears, because it's inevitable that you'll disappoint someone. But here's the truth. You've already survived their disappointment, and now it's time to just move forward. Like the Five of Pentacles, death is just a threshold that you have to move forward. What lies beyond isn't desolation, it's gonna be relief. In the original RWS, we have a skeleton riding a horse, and he's moving towards sunset. And while you don't see it here, it's still that same theme here. So let's talk about what helps you support that release. So we have the King of Pentacles. You're being guided to redefine success. And it's not about money, status, or any type of traditional measure that you might be thinking of, but more about internal peace. The king says you don't have to prove your worth by building an empire. You just need to outperform your lineage to justify your path. The true legacy you're building is about self-worth that isn't dependent on anyone's approval. So let's talk about your path forward. So the Queen of Pentacles. Now is the time to tend to yourself like sacred soil. The Queen doesn't force things. She nurtures, plans, and cultivates. This is your green light to be grounded, build emotional safety, set boundaries with your family or people who don't respect your path. And in a way, it's also talking about mothering yourself. Like you always needed. You don't have to sprint out of your past. You need to grow through it slowly and intentionally. So let's go over any common themes that we might see. We got 2 pentacles, actually 3 pentacles. I didn't even notice that. Okay, so the spread is pentacle heavy, which tells us that, again, this transformation isn't fast, loud, or dramatic. It's definitely reinforcing that thought of being generational, that it's rooted, and it's about shaping your identity on your own, forging that path. And then we don't see any, oh, we do see some wands here, but we're not seeing any swords. So you're not necessarily driven by thought. You're kind of focused on surviving, as you could see here with the 7 of Wands. The fact that we have the 4th house plus death and the faceless children, it talks to us about you're in the middle of an important turning point, challenging that pattern that you've had in the past, maybe of emotional neglect, or that love in the past was tied to how well you performed, and also about survival. You may not have that kind of emotional presence or support you needed growing up, but you're choosing something different, especially if you embrace the energy of the Queen of Pentacles. So, as a final summary here, this file speaks to someone who has long carried the weight of not feeling enough, whether that message was spoken outright or maybe you've absorbed it in the silence of disapproval, right? You spent much of your life trying to prove your worth, to rise above these expectations, and to create something meaningful on your own terms is what you need to do. True healing doesn't come from outdoing the past. It comes from transforming it inside you and your likeness. You're not failing because you choose a different path. You were never meant to be that mold, right? You were meant to plant something entirely new and just become you. So if this reading resonated, I'd love to hear how in the comments below. And if you'd like to support the channel, a like or a subscribe is always deeply appreciated. It helps me make content that hopefully is healing and intentional for you. So thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll see you guys next week.